Hi, I'm Dr. Sasha Blackwell, and today I'm going to be discussing tantruming toddlers. A lot of parents come to me and asking me about this, and right now there's a lot of discussion in the media about how to proactively deal with such an issue. The first thing is to really look at the situations and environment in which your child is tantruming. The first thing I would do is actually nothing, and it's something called event recording. What you can do is to take a bird's eye view of your child's behavior and just quietly make note of what might come before the tantrum, what the tantrum itself looks like, and that's called the topography of the behavior, and what comes right after the behavior, which could be your response or the environment's response to your child's behavior. So for example, if you were event recording, it might look something like this. You tell your child it's time to go to bed, so that's the antecedent condition. That's what came before the behavior. The behavior itself is a tantrum in which you're going to describe what the behavior looks like. The child throws himself on the floor, they stamp their feet, they scream, and they roll around on the floor for about 5 minutes. And what comes right after? Well, bedtime is delayed for 10 minutes. They get to read a story so they can calm down. Over time, you can keep kind of making record and then look for patterns in your child's behavior. So, for example, if you saw that this happened over 3 nights, you would realize that the child is tantruming to delay their bedtime, at which point you want to introduce a new routine that might eliminate the tantrum. Perhaps introduce a bath at that time, or change your story time routine to come, maybe do it downstairs when the tantrum would start instead of upstairs. And you can sort of play within the environmental conditions to try to eliminate that behavior. The second thing that you might think about, what some parents ask me about is, timeout. What do you think about timeout? And there's a lot of controversy right now in the media about this. So timeout can be effective, but only if done really properly. But what I would try before a timeout is something, just a soothing technique with your child. And that goes with the assumption that they're tantruming because they're dysregulated. They're just at that point not able to control their impulses and behaviors, and they're just sort of bubbling over. And that's because as a toddler, they're not able to regulate independently. They're just not there developmentally. And they rely on you as their parent to help them calm down. So it's perfectly appropriate using your own gentle hands and your calm voice with the mantra that you're bigger, smarter, and wiser, and taking them under your wing and helping them calm down. So what might that look like? Well, they're melting down when you've told them the play date with Sam is over. So you might scoop them up under your arm and say, I can see you're having a really hard time ending this play date. And it's really hard for you to say goodbye. So you're empathizing with them. And you said, we're going to go outside. So you're removing them to a different location, and I'm going to help you calm down. At that point, you might model some deep breathing for them, rub their back, and the increased physical proximity and contact might help them calm down along with your breath. So that might come before something like a timeout. Mostly for a toddler, again, because they're not able to control themselves, something like putting them on the stairs alone in a true timeout, which is the long word for timeout is timeout from reinforcement, is just going to exacerbate their behavior. So it might just lead to them running away so they won't stay in timeout, to the tantruming increasing in intensity. So instead of crying, they're wailing, or they may start hitting the floor when they weren't. So in the case of a tantrum, I really wouldn't advise a timeout. This is Dr. Sasha from On Life TV.